Okay, hello POLSCI004. Want to go over the study guide with you guys, so to help you for the test. Really, this test is okay. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you 8 essay questions, and I pick 6 of them. So, let's see. I'll give you 6 essay questions. No, I'll give you 8 essay questions. I pick 6. Sorry about that. And it's essay. So what I'm looking for in essay is if you fully answer the question, if you can put down everything you can remember about the subject, that would be great. That would be good for you. That's what I'm looking for you to do. Now, I'll tell you where to go and what to do and what I'm looking for, but also try to put down everything you can remember about it to help you. So the first one, please explain the major concepts of realism. You know that study guide or that little thing in the back, the last 2 slides of each theory? You'll want to study those and you'll want to know all the terms. So, realism, it's an anarchic system. You can't rely on anybody. You should talk about balance of power. You should talk about allies, why you should have allies. You should talk about neo-realism versus realism. Why is it a cruel world? The view of human nature, the Peloponnesian War. Talk about all those things and why it fits with realism. So you need to show me that you really know what realism is. I would say that this is important. I would say the 3 theories will probably be on the test for sure. So you should definitely study those, and you should look through the notes. That's going to help you study. Also, if you want to do some ancillary lookups on Google or whatever search engine you use, I would do that, especially with realism, interdependence, and world systems. So interdependence theory is cooperation, working together. You should know all the terminology with interdependence theory. Multinational corporations, collective security. There will be no war because they rely on each other. So you need to look at all of those things in the last 2 slides of the notes and know what each of those are for the test. Same thing with world systems theory. Talk about dependency theory. Talk about Lenin. Talk about imperialism. Talk about exploitation of poor countries. Transnational class coalitions. Rich versus poor. You need to talk about all of those things when you go over when you study. You need to know all about those things at the end. What's their view of human nature? It's pessimistic but reformable for world systems. For realism, it's pessimistic. For interdependence, it's optimistic. Why do these theories have these sayings or thinkings about human nature? So when you look at these 3, you want to look at those last 2 sets of notes, and you're going to use the notes to study and understand what these 3 theories are and how they work. Because everything else stems from these 3 theories. You have to know these 3 theories down to be able to move on in the class and do well in the class. So everything's tied to these 3 theories. So you need to know about realism, you need to know about interdependence, you need to know about world systems. So those are super important to know and study for. All right. Next, Adam Smith. Who is Adam Smith, and what does he have to do with international relations? So that's the economic liberalism notes that we went over. Study those notes. What does Adam Smith? He talks about. He's the writer of The Wealth of Nations. He comes up with classical liberalism. The invisible hand. What does the invisible hand do? Free association. Let's see what else this. Smith's an advocate for the invisible hand. What does the invisible hand do? Talk about all of those things that Smith advocates for. And on the spectrum, Smith is way on the right on economic issues. Free markets, free trade, free association. Those are the things that Smith looks for when he talks about it. So if I have Smith, then you're going to need to tell me about Keynes. What does Keynes believe? Keynes is in the middle. Keynes thinks that when we look at Keynes looks at the market and says, okay, well, We don't want unemployment to be high. The government needs to get involved in unemployment. They need to get involved with interest rates. Um, we should not have pure market capitalism like Smith talks about. We should have some government control over a certain entity or certain parts of the economy, like unemployment or interest rates or inflation. The government needs to hold those. So Keynes is in the middle. Some government control, some free market aspects. Now, if we talk about Marx, Marx is way on the left. Government control over everything. Government controls everything in international relations and within the country. So, what does Marx espouse? What does he believe about the market? He believes the market should be owned by the government, the people. The people should own the means of production, but through the people, it's the government that will do that, and the government will control the market. So, you have Smith, who's way out there with unfettered capitalism. You have Marx with communism. You have Keynes in the middle. So what does each one of these guys believe, and how does it fit in with international relations? Well, we talked about Marx's communism. So his whole thinking goes with world systems theory. Keynes does want free markets, does want some government control though, so he's more interdependent. Whereas Smith, you could say, is interdependent and realist, without the government controls. So you could fit any of these guys in with any of the three theories, and the more that you argue with which theory they fit with, the better you'll probably do. So you want to make that argument and explain to me why those fit. All right, next question. Why was Great Britain a world hegemon and not Spain? What were the differences between British colonialization and Spanish colonialization? I talked about this a little bit in the video for mercantilism. Spain was out looking for the three G's, gold, God, and glory. So they're out trying to find precious metals that will bring back to Spain and make it rich. Whereas Great Britain is going out and conquering lands and then colonizing them and using renewable resources to build their treasury. So Spain's looking at the short term, whereas Britain is more long term in trying to bring about its build up its treasury. So Great Britain becomes the world hegemon because they look at renewable resource colonialization, not just conquering for God, for finding gold and bringing about glory for themselves. Whereas Britain is more pragmatist about their colonialization. Spain is more brutal and trying to just extract as much wealth from the areas they conquer as compared to Great Britain. So Great Britain has a long-term strategy, and with renewable resources, your treasury refills every year. Even when you build a fleet, it rebuilds. What happens to Spain's treasury after they build the Spanish Armada? It's empty. The Spanish Armada sinks, and they're not a world power anymore. So that's why Great Britain was a hegemon and not Spain, because Great Britain focused on renewable resources to build their treasury, where Spain was just looking for gold and precious metals. So I would look at that. I would probably build more on that idea. You might want to talk about Spain, the Spanish Armada sailing to Great Britain and being sunk, and this allows Great Britain to leapfrog Spain, and the idea of focusing on renewable resources, colonializing versus looking for gold. And the last question you should know about is, what is a hegemon? What makes a country hegemonic? What have been the most powerful countries in the world and why? So you need to tell me what a hegemon is. Pretty simple. Most powerful country in the world. What makes a country hegemonic? So I think at the end of the economic liberalism chapter, we talked about this. What makes a country hegemonic? Not just military, not just economic, but other factors also play into that. And what's a good thing? How do we know a hegemon is powerful? How do we know a hegemon is in decline? What have been the most powerful countries in the world and why? So why is the Dutch the most powerful in the 1700s? They had great financing and banks. Why were the British so powerful? They were powerful because they took colonies and they exploited those colonies and became rich off of it. Why is the United States the most powerful? Well, because we opened up the world to free trade and we had comparative advantage. So you talk about those things. So you need to tell me what a hegemon is, what makes a country hegemonic, and then who was the most powerful countries in the world and why they were powerful. Why was the U.S. powerful? Why was Great Britain powerful? And so on. You explain all of those things, you should do fine. These are the things that I'll be looking for the test. If you do have any questions, I am available Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 on Zoom. I'd be more than happy to talk with you if you want to study with me. I can tell you what to look for. I wanted to try to keep this short, not too long. So if you do have any questions, please let me know, and I will talk to you later. Bye.